Okay, the following conversation is the initial contact and conversation with the client about how to add access control to this client's pair of doors. And it started out without me having an understanding of if it was a single door or a pair of doors and what hardware was on it. The client, the client's original question that he looked to Reddit for information on how to do this was the consensus on Reddit that adding a Hess 1006 electric strike was the best way to go to add access control to an opening. And the client emailed me and said, hey, would you verify that this is the best way to go? And getting the client on the telephone, saying, probably best to call me, let's discuss. The conversation that follows is what ensues, and then we'll pick it up after the conversation with how we moved it all forward. Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Absolutely. I can discuss that with you.
I've got two, like the leaves close, one leaf closes into the inactive leaf. It's a mortis lock between them. The inactive leaf has no handles. It's just manual strike bolts. So really the only trick is cut out the little notch for the HES 1006, right? Other than drilling the door.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to modify the existing strike prep to accept that 1006, which really means cutting back away a substantial amount of the face of the door, which, you know, is just part and parcel of what that job requires. You know, it's a, why are you considering, I'm sorry, it's a 1006. Okay, yeah, sure. Why are you considering the 1006?
It's just kind of what I found first, and it said most universal first, and in that class of product, I hit Reddit first for advice, and everybody said go with the 1006.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So 1006 strike. I mean, it's certainly going to do the job. It's a very common and popular strike. It will require a large cutout to the face of the door, but that's part of what it is.
Do I have to cut past what it actually shows on the template to allow that it to fully rotate, or will I get away with just the it's saying a 1 11/16?
Well, I'm not looking at the template, but there'd be no reason to cut anything outside of what the template calls out.
Okay, so if it says it there, because I've set it up with the controller, and I noticed that when it's unlocked, it can rotate a lot further than that, but that was my
True, but there would be no reason for it to pivot to a degree beyond releasing the latch.
Okay, so the latch will probably sneak past it then. Otherwise, I'll take it out and cut some more, I guess.
Yeah. So have you given thought to how you're going to get power to the door?
I've got a big, 3-foot long drill bit to go through the inactive leaf, and a door cord.
To get the power from the wall or jamb to the door?
Yep.
Okay.
The system that I'm going with, it's the door controller box. There's a Ethernet cable to each door controller box, and that provides the 12 volt for the strike.
Okay. So one thing to consider when you're doing that work is what the unknown of what the core of the door is. You know, if it's polystyrene or polyurethane, it's no big deal. It's just drilling foam. However, it could be steel stiffened, which will prove to be the most dreadful endeavor that you've ever considered. So the unknown of what the core of the door is, while it's most likely not going to be a major problem at all, if you discover that you're the one guy who's got steel stiffened doors, doing this is going to prove almost impossible. So be mindful of that.
Okay.
So then, of course, the other thing is this an exterior door or an interior door?
Exterior.
Okay, so it's probably not fire rated. So in that case, you're not technically prevented from drilling any holes into it. So there you go.
If it is fire rated, even though it's outside, exterior,
if that door is fire rated, you're not permitted to do any of this, what we've discussed. I'm not the code police.
Right.
I don't the code police, but just letting you know what code says. It would not be permissible, not you, it would not be permissible to field modify a door in the way in which we've been discussing on a fire door.
Then so I need a new door or electric crash bar at that point.
Electric latch retraction. Quite honestly, why not just do electric latch retraction on? Just replace the mortis cassette. Then you don't have to do any of this, crazy amount of prep to the door. You could do electric latch retraction on the mortis cassette, and you're good. I mean, do you have to have a panic device? Does code require it?
No, but we prefer it.
You mean you'd prefer an exit device?
Well, the crash bar, basically we want nothing to change but the ability for people to get in at night.
So what hardware's on there now?
Crash bar on the inside and a handle lock with a key on the outside.
It's most likely that I can sell you a latch retraction modification kit that you can add to the existing exit device. That would be far more elegant than what you're considering. Plus, wait a minute. The 1006, what exit device do you have? What type of exit device is it?
Let me see if I get a picture on my phone. Otherwise, I can run over to one. We've got 3 that are all the same. Come on, phone. So I think it's a Von something.
On Duprin.
Yep, Von Duprin. Still looking to see if I've got the picture of the actual model. There we go. Looks like the code under it is 971235-00 99 series 266M.
But what series in the 99 series do you have? Which model in the 99 series?
266M.
No. That tells us that it's most likely fire rated. Where's the latch bolt on the exit device? Where physically on the door is the latch bolt?
The latch is in the door. It's like a standard. It's like a mortis
pocket.
Yep, mortis pocket.
Okay, that is. Yeah, you could do electric latch retraction on that mortis cassette. That would be the most elegant way to do this. Replace the mortis body with an electrified version. Or what would be even easier would be adding new trim on the outside that is your access control. What exterior trim is on there now?
Nothing. You mean like between the doors?
On the outside. How do I get in from the outside?
The handle lock or handle lever on the outside.
Yeah. So I would consider replacing that with electrified trim so that when you card access, that lever will either rotate if access is granted, or it won't if access is not granted, or if it's just otherwise in standby mode. So that would be another way to do it. The electric strike is the least best of your options. They're cantankerous, they are fit to not working, they're unreliable, and especially the 1006. It is by far my least favorite of grade 1 electric strikes, and has been since about a year after it came out in the 90s. So I would go with the other advantage of the electrified trim is the fact that there's nothing obvious. You've not substantially changed your door to give someone the ability to Lloyd the door open, meaning like play with a screwdriver.
Right.
Thread it. You've not done anything like that. And in fact, you could increase your security by going with the electrified the electrified trim, and increase the security by putting an astragal over the entire opening, so that you are not subject to someone loading it. So you could, for less money and a whole lot less heartache. Well, the hardware won't be less expensive. That's sure, but the overall cost, I think, will be advantageous.
Do you have anything you'd recommend?
Oh, it's just a Von Duprin.
You could sell me even?
Yeah, of course.
It's from?
Yeah, it's a Von Duprin outside trim that's electrified. It's got a solenoid in it. Easy peasy.
And does that work with like a standard 12-volt signal? Or is that?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna power it with something. Those solenoids are going to be available in 12 or 24 volts. So you don't really have to worry about what you're powering it with. In the sense that it's 12 or 24 volt DC, so you'll be okay with that.
I guess the question is, like, when the access controller sees a card, it applies 12 volts up to an amp, whatever it actually draws. But that's just a straight on signal. Is that all the electrified trim needs as well?
It's not a signal. All you're doing is the trim is what we call fail secure. When the circuit is open, which is a fancy way of saying there's no power,
yep,
the lever
I got
is
that.
out. When you card in or enter the credential, whatever it is, biometric, PIN tag, key code, a code, a 4-digit code, a card reader, whatever it is, because all that thing is a light switch. Is really all it is.
Okay, that's what I'm. Yep.
Yeah, whatever closes the circuit, meaning now there's juice going to the lever, it's going to allow you to rotate that lever. It doesn't matter.
It's just a straight on. There's no specialty. Oh, and as soon as the circuit breaks, the lever can't rotate. Okay.
As soon as you open the circuit, so yeah, of course your access control is going to close that circuit for a certain amount of time. Maybe there is a door position switch that the circuit is continuous until the door becomes closed again, and then at that point, power is cut or the circuit is opened. That would be kind of cool. I mean, that would be normal. This is normal stuff.
Yep. And then, but how do I get the power to that handle then if I can't modify the door?
Is it a fire door?
Yeah, I think it is. I saw a fire rating on it. It's like 40 years old, though. And
well, what you have to find out is there could be a label on the door, but the opening's not fire rated. Now, in an exterior application, I can tell you that it would be very unusual for you to actually have a fire rated requirement. Like if that door was sharing a common walkway with like a fireworks manufacturing plant or something, hazardous, flammable, explosive, or if you had some equipment outside, yeah, but that door is probably not going to be fire rated because it's normal for doors to ship with fire rated labels on them. And they shouldn't because it causes confusion like this. But it most likely is not fire rated. I would be quite surprised if it was actually fire rated.
And yeah, nothing you just said about fireworks or any. We're just an eyeglass factory, and we've got like probably half a lot of vacant behind us.
Yeah, so it's just a parking lot. So it's the back door of a Home Depot, basically. And,
yep, exactly.
There's no need. What you need on that door is insulation, not fire rated.
Yep. And I think it's just foam inside, but I haven't gone past the foam. All right,
all you would need to do basically is get power to the back of the mortis cassette, and that's how that works. Now, I don't recall the wiring diagram of the device, if the wires go through the chassis of the panic device to the cassette, or if you have to drill a raceway through the door. It's one or the other. It doesn't really matter because you're going to have to drill a couple of holes for sure. It's just a matter of pulling up the wiring diagram and saying, yep, that's where you have to drill.
Okay. So, yeah, and then that part I was expecting to do with the strike, too, so it's just the opposite door, same deal.
But it's more elegant, though, and it's more secure.
yeah, no cutting out of the actual door. That sounds a lot better.
That.
All right. And
So,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the thing to do now is to send me an email so I can get you back a quote on the mortis cassette, and I can look at the wiring diagram as well.
Sure thing. Hold on 1 second. I'll look here. New email. All right. What's your email address?
Sales, S-A-L-E-S, at, A as in architectural, B as in builders, supply.net.
Supply of 2 P's?
Yes, sir.
All right. Supply.net. I just hit send.
Yeah, I won't see it. I'm in the shop actually, so, but I will see it in due course.
Okay. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's going to work out just fine, and I will get your email and I'll reply.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. So we did kind of come full circle on starting with the Hess strike. Now, the Hess strike certainly would have worked. The client would needed to have prepped the edge of the inactive door for the very large, and it's all electric strikes. Most of them are large, especially when you have the projection of latch bolt that will come out of a mortise case, which is 3/4 inch, so you can't use a standard $110, a $50, $100, $150 electric strike in most instances. You need one that has a deeper cavity in the strike itself to allow the greater projection latch to fit inside of it. Meaning those $100 plus or minus strikes are really meant for half-inch latches. When you measure the distance from the edge of the door to how far the latch comes out, it's half-inch. You use one of those on a mortise lock that has a 3/4 inch projection on the latch bolt. It may work, and it may not. It certainly won't work all the time reliably, and I know that I made that mistake myself many years ago. Client came in and said, yeah, I've got a mortise lock, I need an electric strike. Hang on, I'll be right back. $57 later, he was out of there. Comes back the next day, says, this doesn't work. I says, what do you mean? Does it? No, it works electrically, but I told you I have a mortise lock. And then I started to dig into with why it didn't work, and then learned all about extension of latch bolts. So the client could certainly have gotten in 1006 prepped onto the door. He could have drilled a raceway through the door. He could have somehow gotten power to the door, either with a surface armored loop or a power transfer hinge or a concealed armored loop, which we have. It's a piece of armored cable basically with a couple of rosettes that you mount in the edge of the door and then in the rabbet of the frame. If you could get the power to the inside or back of the frame, which the client can't in this case, it would all be surface mounted. So an armored loop is what would work. Or a power transfer hinge, obviously. The client later asked me about monitoring. What would be the best way to know the position? What would be he wants to monitor the opening. A little segue here in terms of monitoring the opening. And would a monitor switch inside of the hinge as a power transfer hinge, would that be a good idea? And yeah, you can have that combination. You can have a monitor switch. But we have to really analyze, what are we really trying to detect? Is the door open or closed? Okay, fine. If you've got a monitor switch in the hinge, it will tell us open or closed. But then he asked if the latch bolt monitor in the E7500 lock case would work as well. Okay. So you've got a latch bolt monitor, which will come in the mortis cassette. We've got the idea of a monitor switch in the hinge itself. And then ultimately it becomes, what are we really trying to monitor? So the latch bolt monitor is not going to tell you if the door is open or closed. It's only going to tell you the position of the latch bolt. So every time the latch bolt is retracted by the normal operation of exiting, rotating the trim, or lloyding the latch bolt, someone pushing it back with in an attempt to bypass the normal operation of the lock, that latch bolt monitor will tell you all of that. It won't tell you if the door is open or closed. It just tells you the position of the latch. The monitor will tell you if the door is open or closed, but won't tell you anything about the latch bolt. Is it being lloyded? Is there some sort of condition that's happening there? So the discussion about monitoring an opening is one where you have to think about, what are we actually trying to monitor? Position of door, the relative position of all of the hardware, and you can have lots of options in terms of monitoring. So anyway, during the conversation, we went away from the electric strike idea. Why? Well, I think it's the least elegant way to go for this client because he already has a Von Duprin 9975 mortis exit device. Okay. While it's not the least expensive material-wise to go at all, it would be the most elegant to simply remove that mortis, take the exit device off the door, the trim comes off, the mortis cassette comes out, you put the new electrified cassette in there, wire it back, put your exit device, an existing exit device, an existing trim back on, and now you have the ability to, when the credential is presented on the outside, or however it's being done, the mortis body is simply going to allow the exterior lever to rotate or not. It's not pulling the latch bolt back in. So, the good thing about the function of that is, and you can do electric latch retraction on mortis locks. You can do that. The advantage of the mortis cassette, the E7500 operating this way, is the client can reuse his existing hardware. So what he needs to do is, on his existing trim, which is a 996L, let's say, it's not an LNL, where you put the key in, and you can leave the lever in passage mode, and you can put the key back in and then leave it always rigid. What the client will need to do is put it into passage mode, and then he will power the opening, which I'm sure would be fail secure, so that when the circuit is closed or energized, when you present the credential, you'll be able to then freely rotate the lever, because the solenoid in the lock case is just governing the hubs that permit the spindle, therefore the lever, to rotate. If anyone needs to get in, the mechanical key will work. You put the key in, you can turn it, and you will be able to gain access that way by retracting the latch. Is how you'll be able to get in. So you have the ability to keep all the existing hardware, and when the job's done, it won't be obvious that anything really changed. There'll likely be an armored loop on the door to transfer the low voltage power. The client did opt for 12 volt, and it's because he's integrating it with some access control system that was all 12 volt, so he wanted it to be on the same voltage, obviously. I provided him confirmation that it was 12 volt and also gave him the milliamperage rating of the solenoid in the lock case, so he could make sure that his access control or his power supply was going to handle that. Now, why not the electric strike? Well, the electric strike to me is a big invitation to someone, and it's telling them, hey, Lloyd me. Lloyd is Lloyd is the term for jimmying a latch bolt, a means of bypass other than how the lock was meant to happen. You have to make a really large cutout in the edge of the door for this electric strike, and I don't like it really at all. And he's got a pair of doors. Okay, so let's say that a pair of doors are opened. With an electric strike, and frankly, with really anything that's going to happen, you have to be mindful. If that inactive door were to not be closed before the active door came closed, you'd have a problem. Open back strikes exist for that purpose. So you have to be mindful of that. It's clear, I think, in his pictures that the inactive door was always bolted shut and is probably only opened when it needs to be opened. But to me, the electric strike is an invitation to reduce the security on the opening. And plus, I personally have had just bad luck with that 1006 series of strikes. I think they're large. I think they're unattractive. I think they're inelegant. I think that they are a really big hammer when what you need is a really small hammer. It's the solution is too overwhelming. I don't want to give away to anyone who's looking at the opening how it works. I'd like to conceal that when possible. And leaving no evidence that anything's changed from the outside is really the way to do it. So currently it's all mechanical, what they have there now. They want to add access control, and I think this is going to work splendidly for them. If there's any questions on how to integrate access control into your opening, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.